Hi, Lilou.
It's good to have another session of the Open Heart series. This is session 6. My heart is so open, Ram Giri. Oh my
All right.
goodness, what a new experience of life.
Way to go.
I'm really, really loving it. So where do we take it, from there?
Well, you've done really well. You've been able to address just begin to address some major issues in your life. Not surprising, they included your parents, and they also included God, your image or your ideas of God.
Yeah.
Because that's really, in a way, the big screen that we project onto. We project our misgivings, our confusion, our hopes, our dreams, all of that on that big screen. We call it God.
Yeah.
And there's some research out, you may know about, that people who come together in these kind of really hellfire and brimstone churches where God is looked at as this really angry entity that you have to obey, and it's just very scary to relate to God in those communities. And there's been this research that says that most of the people, very, very large percentage, had that kind of a father. So it's the abusive or really strict father that then becomes the God image later on, because of course for a little child, that's what the parents are. They're that important. They're that all empowering, all powerful for us. So we need to evolve our idea of what God is and how we relate to that ultimate reality we call God. So we've done some of that, and you've done really well.
That was very surprising and challenging at times, how, through the judgment that I have of God and what I put on, how, when I reversed it on me, it was like very eye-opening, very fast too.
Right. And so, a lot of there is a place for what we call the fear of God, although it's probably a misnomer. And that is simply just realizing just how enormous and how beyond our little intellect God is, this ultimate reality is. But if we really go into fear with that, we miss the point, because the one thing, at least, that always rang true for me is that God is love. And I never needed a proof for that. It was like something inside of me just knew that. God is love, and that's how I've approached God, and it has never let me down. Mm-hmm. It just keeps opening up and opening up and opening up my life, opening up my ability to listen to that place inside of me where that love is alive. So maybe what we could do at this point, because I don't see you ready to jump into the next thing right now, is to talk a little bit about how I go about working with people, what I have found to be most crucial, because of course there's now 10,000 different things you can do. You have the intention to make your life better, and that's a noble intent. And then there's 10,000 different methods and books and skills and everything that's vying for your attention. So I was in that place in the early 90s after practicing for decades, and some of my history. And I realized that I still wasn't liberated, I still wasn't free, and I was having such a great time doing all these different things. And something in me just sort of put the foot on the brake and said, wait a minute, you're still not enlightened. What are you doing? There's so many things that are great and nice and fun and make you feel better and so on, but do they really liberate you? Do they really set you free? And I started this process of testing a lot of the different things I came across, and also following guidance. And that was really perhaps the most important thing, the guidance of my enlightened teachers. And I came up with three different things, three different skills that I now teach. And I was always open, to see, well, is there more? What else do we need to do? And nothing else came for a long time. And then I began to understand why that is, why these three are really complete, and they're extremely practical, easy to practice, and highly effective. And the way I understood that these three skills are really a complete system goes back to Tibetan teaching on the three poisons, or Buddhist teaching, I should say. The three poisons are three forces that keep suffering alive in our lives. So the three poisons are, I just made a little diagram for you before we started, and these are the three poisons. There is desire, and the opposite of that, which is aversion. And those two forces create a third force, which is confusion. So we have desire, which means wanting to have what we don't have in the moment. Aversion is the force that wants us to get rid of what we do have. And it creates the third force, which is aversion, which is ignorance. And ignorance, or sometimes known as confusion or stupidity, means that we're ignorant of what we truly are. We're caught in desire, not wanting, or wanting this, and all of this pushing away and pulling toward us. Therefore, we don't live in the here and now, and are caught in past and future, and are ignorant of who we truly are, our true potential. So luckily, those three poisons have three antidotes, something that you want to take in order to get over the effect of the poison. And here are the three antidotes. The three antidotes are the antidote for desire. What do we most want? We want love. So true unconditional love is the antidote for desire. Then aversion, what do we reject is everything that makes us feel stressed or unharmonious. So harmony, especially emotional harmony, is the antidote for aversion. If we're in harmony, we don't have to reject anything. And the antidote for confusion is truth. Clarity, truth. Okay? So these are the three antidotes. Now, these three antidotes have for the longest time been known and been practiced, and these were these practices, the time-honored practices of devotion on one hand. Devotion, that is what brings you to this greater love, the love of God, the unconditional love. The practice of presence, of being here now, gives you the harmony and the peace. And inquiry has been a way of finding the truth, inquiring into your thinking, into the nature of reality, etc. So those are the three time-honored practices that you can find in yoga and in all these big spiritual and wisdom traditions. So now this boils down for me to three very concise skills. And I just have the abbreviations here. The skill to open the heart is HS, stands for heart sourcing. And heart sourcing is the way you can go directly into your heart center and drink from the essence that's there. So we've all looked for love outside of us, and it's great when we find it, but we can really sort of cut out the middleman and go straight to the source, which is in the heart. And that's where all the good stuff, all the peace and harmony and happiness that we've ever been looking for really emerges from. Then how do we find the emotional harmony that can prevent us from rejecting things? And that's open attention. That's what OA stands for. Open attention is a way to working with your emotions straight on and allowing them to heal, allowing these repetitive patterns of suffering to heal in your life. And then finally, the search for truth, I found this amazing tool. It's called The Work of Byron Katie. And of course, we've done that in our series now for several sessions. We used the work of Byron Katie to question your thinking, and especially the stressful thinking. So that thinking, that stress can leave you by finding a deeper truth. So you can pick any one of these three paths to counteract the ultimate poisons in your life and to set yourself free. Now, there are some people who are just completely devotional people. That's just following this, the yoga of the heart, perhaps you may say, or the devotion. This is, of course, a very deeply ingrained Western tradition, also in Christianity, also in the Muslim tradition. You know, this devotion to God, devotion to a higher reality, is very, very time-honored, and we all kind of know a little bit about it, probably. So there's some people who just purely go with this path, and there's other people who purely go with their search for truth, and other people who really work with emotions and create this sense of presence and stillness. Meditation is something that really works with all of these things, but particularly the search for truth and the search for an inner harmony. So what I found is these three very practical skills, and this is what I love about this way of approaching the desire, the fulfillment of desire to have a better life, because it's so eminently practical. It's like, I don't have time anymore. You know, we all have a library. I could show you all the books I have, you know, but that's all very good, but we've become addicts to knowledge. You know, we have more knowledge. Oh, and if I read this other book, then, you know, that's going to do it for me. And it doesn't. What really does it, what really sets us free is practice. And here we have three practices. I'm not saying they're the only ones or something like this. There's no such thing. Every person needs a different approach and a different combination of things. And we have, when that thirst, that hunger in us is authentic, we have the ability to be guided to the right path and the right tools in our lives. So this is what I ended up doing. This is what I left psychology for. This is what the end effect at this moment is for me, the 40 years of my journey in the wisdom traditions and in spiritual traditions. And from what I'm hearing from the people that I work with, it works really well for them.
Amazing. Thank you. That was really, you showed it to us very clearly. I've never had any explanations like that before. I really appreciate that. Tell us about the second part. Tell me about the second part a bit more. The OA.
Open attention?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't gone too much into that, have we?
Right. No, we haven't. Open attention is the way we deal with our emotions intelligently, with wisdom. So, in short, here's the scoop. You know, we have an unpleasant emotion. And that emotion, you know, what is it? What are emotions? Emotions are a combination of thoughts and body sensations. Like, for instance, you get scared about something, there's an image of maybe an accident in your mind, you know, something terrible could happen, or, you know, something scary arises in the mind in the form of thoughts. And then you may feel this knot in the stomach, or the heaviness on the chest, or the tightness in the throat, or the tension in the shoulders, or something in your body. And that together, the appearance of this thought and body sensation combination, we then give a name to, which is fear or anxiety or some kind of emotion, right? Now, the first trick with that is that many of us are very aware of the mind aspect of that, but not so aware of the body aspect. Some people have easy access to it, but many of us have learned to block out the physical sensation of the emotion. They're still occurring, but we're just not aware of it because when we were kids, maybe for a long time, we've had unpleasant sensations, unpleasant emotions, and nobody showed us what to do with it. So it just makes sense for us to suppress it, to tune it out. And the first step we want to do is to tune back into what we're actually feeling. And that goes on the body level. So I ask people, what are you feeling? And they may say, oh, I'm anxious. And then I say, the next thing here is I say, well, what does that feel like in your body? And some people can tell me right away. And some people have no clue because they're really tuned out from it. And then they may say, well, I guess. And I say, don't guess. Just mentally scan through your body and you'll find it. It's there. And then everybody can do it. It's not that hard. So we need to tune into the body and feel the sensation that arises with a particular unpleasant emotion. Okay, so that's the first step. So now we're actually in touch with what's going on inside of us. If we're not in touch, we're not going to be too effective doing something about it, right? So then the next insight is, what have we been doing with these unpleasant sensations of emotions? What have you been doing when, I don't know, what has been an emotion in your life that may have come repeatedly sort of as a pattern?
My big pattern is to overeat. I mean, as soon as I isolate and I overeat. So as soon as if it's a good, bad, whatever type of emotion, that's where I will go. That's a mechanism that I have in place for a long time.
So let me ask you to go to the moment before you overeat or isolate. What happens? What triggers that? What gets you to overeat? What is the emotion that's there that triggers that response then?
It's the panic, it's the not able to handle it, it's the anxiety of it, worrying.
Okay. So anxiety would be one emotion, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing here. Anxiety all the way up to panic. Okay. So when you have this anxiety come up.
But it can be also great, like everything is so great, I want to celebrate. Poof. So it goes both hands.
So let's pick on one here first, right? So let's say you have some anxiety. And if you remember, can you remember an occasion like that, maybe not too long ago? A moment of anxiety?
Just thinking of financially, I was like, how am I gonna actually attract all the money that I need for this 12 months tour? Just, the date is coming up very soon, and just I was like,
all right. So you've got that memory. Step into the memory for a moment and see where that manifests in your body. We have the thoughts, I won't be able to get the money. And where does that manifest in the body as a body sensation now, right now?
In the right shoulder.
Okay, so what's it feel like there?
It's warm and burning. Heavy.
Okay. And that is the manifestation of that anxiety?
Frankly, I don't get there to that place, I think.
Okay.
Usually, of feeling how it feels like. You mean it would manifest usually when I'm in that zone like that? Like in my whole entire body?
If you have anxiety come up,
yeah,
there's a thought which says, I won't get the money, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thought part, and then there's a body sensation. So I'm asking, what is this body sensation of that anxiety? I won't get the money. Where do you feel that? Where in your body do you feel the anxiety?
Right now I feel it right here.
Okay. So then when you feel that kind of anxiety, what do you usually do with that?
I dismiss that. Or I numb it. I don't dismiss it because it's really there and present. I try to numb it or to feel good with something else.
Okay. So you numb it or you distract yourself?
I distract it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like
exactly.
I find a quick feeling good thing. which is food for me.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Exactly. So you head for the fridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
So
chocolate.
then it goes away for a moment, for a little while, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens?
It kicks back
Then it
in.
comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Right? So it's not a solution. You just suppress it. It goes away in terms of you don't feel it for a moment, and then there it is again. And you see, now what happens is every time you repeat this pattern, that pattern becomes stronger in your life. That emotional, self-destructive pattern. So what you've done here is the following. The emotion arises, and then the impulse, it's like the feeling in your shoulder travels into the brain. Got it? And in the brain, it is in a very primitive part of the brain called the reptilian brain. It is interpreted like it's a threat or an enemy. Yeah, it feels bad, so it's got to be something bad, so we got to get rid of it, right? And then you go into what's known as fight or flight. So you try to flee from it, which is all the ways you distract yourself. Or you fight it, you actually push it down. Or, some people get upset and then they may pick a fight with somebody else, displace it outside of themselves, and so on. So now here's the trick. This feeling that arises inside of you, and listen carefully now because this is a key point, it's not a threat or an enemy. So what could it be?
It shows me, it points at something.
Well, very simply, it's a part of you that needs help.
Yeah. Well, then I have a lot of part of me that needs help.
Okay. But by escaping from them, or trying to escape from them, or trying to fight them off, what's the effect? You get to keep it.
Yeah.
That part of you continues to be in trouble.
Yeah, and I'm ready to let go of that.
It goes underground and it comes back. Right?
Yes.
So let me make another little drawing for you here. So if we just make a very, very simplified drawing of something that goes on in the brain, right? You have a nerve impulse that goes in one cell. It's very simplified, right? But let's say a nerve impulse travels along in one cell, and then the cell has to make a decision, right? In other words, it decides where it's going to travel on from there. So this is what it looks like, right? There's an impulse that travels up that nerve cell, and then it's supposed to go either this way or this way. But you can see here that there's only one option. You see? There's only the option that goes this way. No, wait a minute. This way here.
Yeah.
Right? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So now, when you have that sensation in your shoulder or wherever you feel the anxiety, and you unconsciously identify this as a threat or an enemy, the only choice that you have is to go to war. You try to escape from it. You try to suppress it. And both of those cannot work. So now, when you change this basic understanding that what you're dealing with is not a threat or an enemy, but a part of you that needs help.
Yes.
Then with that insight, another option appears.
Mm.
You see? And that's like this. Now you can go either to war, which is the old way of how you've done it, or you can go to healing or peace. Right? But until now, that wasn't really an option. You were just functioning like this.
Yeah.
a stressful emotion would come up, it would be interpreted unconsciously as a threat, and you'd go to war with it. And this is a war you can only lose. Okay? So that's point number one. Now, again, we get very practical with this. The next question that arises is, okay, so if it's a part of me that needs help, what do I do for it?
Mm-hmm.
How can I help it, correct? Well, you already know how to help it, but you don't know that you know. We all know how to help a part of us that's in distress, but we don't know that we know. We haven't connected the dots, so to speak. And when I know something, but I don't know that I know it, then I cannot use that knowledge. So it's just like the same as though I didn't know. So I'm going to tell you a little story that will explain to you and show to you that you already know what to do.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, Lilou, imagine you're taking a walk someplace, minding your own business, having a good time, and you turn a corner and then you hear it before you see it. And there's this little girl who's just crying and crying, and there's no one else around. She's just off there by herself, and she's just sobbing. What do you do?
I'll go and hug her and ask her if she feels okay.
Well, she can't answer you because she's sobbing.
I'll just be there. I'll be present.
Exactly. Congratulations. You didn't need me to tell you what to do. You knew it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But so if this little girl is a part of you that needs help, this is what we've all done in the past. We've come across that little girl, and in our delusion, the mind says, threat or enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we run like crazy. Let me get away from her. That's insane behavior, isn't it? And of course, the pain in the little girl doesn't get helped. She just keeps sobbing. She keeps that pain. Now it gets worse. That was the flight response, right? Now how about the fight response? We come across this little girl, this part of us that needs help, and we look around for a big stick and we find it and we beat her into the ground. Or we hand her a beer. So we won't have to be confronted with that stupid crying anymore. We have a word for that. It's called criminal insanity. And people would lock you up for that, rightfully. But when you really look at it, we all have treated our own emotions in this way. And simply out of our mind still functioning in this ancient, primitive dinosaur way. And what we need to do is just what I'm doing with you right now. We need to educate our minds. So new options occur in our brains, not just the option to war against our unhappiness, our anxiety, our fear, our anger. We have anger against anger, and it just is an ungodly mess inside of us, right? When we have depression, what do? We just try to distract ourselves. We take pills. Nothing wrong with pills here. I'm not saying that. Where they're appropriate, please keep taking them. But add to that. Because you see, the pills aren't going to change the way you think and the way you feel, ultimately. You take away the pill, and there the old thoughts are still there that create the same emotions, etc. So add to whatever you're doing now a sane strategy of self-change and self-evolution, self-liberation from these unconscious patterns that are based on the conditioning we received as children and the difficult experiences that we've gone through that then get compacted because we don't know how to deal with them in a way that can really set us free. This knowledge is now available. You can have a painful impulse, like we all have these painful impulses in our lives that travel up here, And then you can make the option to go to peace and healing, rather than going to that old dinosaur way of fighting within yourself, fighting with your own emotions. And in a sense, you see, anger at yourself. That's one way we identify depression. And we all know that we have an epidemic of depression now in the country. So open attention now. What is it then? How do we meet this little girl in the metaphorical story, when that's not a little girl at all, but it's our feeling, our state of emotions at this moment? How do we deal with it? Well, you said it right. You would go to that little girl and you would embrace her. You would be present with her. You see? So I called it open attention. We open up to it. We open up, and this is counterintuitive because we've rejected these feelings for so long. We've run away from them. We've poured alcohol and drugs and addictive behaviors on them and all of this stuff that doesn't work and it cannot work. So we open up to them and we pay attention. In other words, we become conscious of these self-destructive dynamics. And by becoming conscious, they will leave us, because they're perpetrated or continued by the fact that we're unconscious of them. We see the effects, you see the effects when you've had a binge and you feel lousy about yourself and so on. You see that, but you don't see the origin of it. And now we're becoming aware of the origin, and the more aware you are, the more you will automatically no longer do it to you. Because none of us opt for suffering consciously. We do it because we're confused, because we're unconscious. And these patterns just want to continue themselves, because that's what patterns do. So we replace the unconscious, unhealthy pattern with a healthy pattern. Now, unconsciousness, in a sense, is like darkness. And consciousness is like light. So we bring light into that darkness, and the darkness cannot continue. Those unhealthy patterns will just go away. But that takes some work. It takes repetitive practice. And this is how you do it. You find a quiet spot, a quiet moment. And you may be aware of some kind of a negative emotion, or you can recall it. Like you just did when you remembered, oh, sometimes I have some fear around money, or the money will not come, or something. Then anxiety comes up. Then you identified the place in your body where it is. So let me go with a typical place that a lot of people feel, and that's the place in the gut, in the solar plexus, in the belly. So suddenly you feel there's a knot there. And that's what you've been running away from maybe for decades. So now we're going to do the opposite. We're going there. We're feeling it. We're opening up to it. Eckhart Tolle writes about it, and he calls it presence. It's exactly the same thing. We can become present to that sensation. And that gives that sensation, that emotional pattern, the ingredient that it needs to heal itself. We're not healing anything. If you have a cut, you don't heal that either. You just make sure that nothing prevents the healing and it heals itself. But it also needs the raw materials for healing. A cut may need some nutrients that come to it through the blood. It may need oxygen and so on that the blood provides. And so the healing can commence. When it comes to emotional healing, the ingredient it needs is consciousness. Because an emotion is an event in consciousness. And what we've been doing is we've been withdrawing consciousness. We've escaped. We've pushed it down into the unconscious. Therefore, it couldn't heal. It festers and just becomes worse. So now we're bringing consciousness there. We're going to that feeling in the solar plexus. And you go inwardly, you focus there, you identify exactly where you feel it, and then you simply pay attention to it. Just like you did with the little girl. It's very natural. Everyone knows how to do it. You know how to pick up a little girl, and then you hold her in your arms and she sobs. She's still like caught in her little drama. And then you hold her, and after 2 minutes perhaps, you notice the sobs die down, and she quickly wiggles out of your arms and she's off playing again. So what happened? You don't know. We don't care. We don't need to know. We don't need to get into the horrible story of what happened to her. Why? Because it's resolved. And what she needed was something that she couldn't give to herself yet, which is this attention, this unconditional presence. Got it?
Yes.
Right. So you learned in a very tangible, practical way to give this unconditional presence, this unconditional attention to you. Now here is another thing that I want to connect for you here. Mm-hmm. What are you actually doing? What is openness and attention? They're the basic building blocks for love, aren't they? When you pick up this little girl, you give her some compassion, some kindness.
Yeah.
And that's the healing force. And we have that inside of us, every one of us, in abundance. That brings us now to heart sourcing. This ability to find in your heart center the well of abundant love and peace. It is present in every human being, but it's covered up, it's obstructed. However, we can sneak past these obstructions. They're like sort of the guardians at the gate, and these are our stressful thoughts and emotions that don't let us get in there. But we can sneak past them, and we can let that essence of the heart pour itself forth into the place in the solar plexus where that fear manifests. So this is now the combination of using the love in the heart to complete that internal healing. Because this unconditional love is the most powerful medicine there is. So if there's anything wrong with you, whether it's caused by an emotion, this knot in the heart of fear, or whether it's a physical illness, to connect that sensation that's created by the illness, or perhaps just an image of where you know there's something wrong in your body, with that heart essence, this nectar from the heart, and cultivate and train your ability to drink from the source and to direct it into the place in you that needs it. That is powerful, powerful healing.
That's perfect. Could we do it, the heart sourcing right now, directed to a particular area? Either
Yes.
the stomach, or I'm thinking I have also rosacea on my face. Mm-hmm. Can that heal my rosacea?
Well, I see. This is the trick here. The ego jumps right into that. Can I heal myself with that? Right? Mm-hmm. The answer is I don't know, because I'm not doing the healing and you're not doing the healing. What we are doing is setting the stage where healing becomes more likely, becomes more empowered, where our body becomes more able to move itself back into equilibrium and harmony and health. You know? Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing. And we need to leave the healing up to the body itself, to the wisdom that runs the body. Just imagine for a moment. In your body, there are thousands and thousands of processes happening simultaneously right now, just to keep you alive, breathing, looking out of your eyes, moving, sitting up straight. It's an absolute miracle beyond our comprehension. So we can trust the wisdom, this healing intelligence in the body to do its best job possible. but we need to support it. And what we've done is we've withdrawn the support by escaping from our emotions, by pushing them down, etc., by reducing the amount of consciousness that's in the system of our body-mind. So we're increasing it, and we're increasing it with wisdom. We're taking the awareness of the mind as well as this essence of the heart, which is really what the power is. And we're bringing that into the body-mind, enabling it to do whatever healing is possible. Now, somebody may be working on something that's physically wrong with them, and suddenly they may notice that they stopped having the kind of stress that they used to have at work. You see what I'm saying? It can translate from area to area. But your body-mind will do its best to healing when you give it the raw materials, the ingredients that it needs for healing, right? So that's why I'm saying, well, I don't know if you can heal that, but you can certainly, within your body-mind, overall set the stage for the deepest healing that's possible by very deeply doing this kind of principle of self-healing. Okay? Yeah. So what we could do very practically right now is to sort of open it up to everyone who's listening. So I don't want to work with you with a specific thing, because then everybody's going to hear about this specific thing. Yeah. Although I'm inviting you to work with a specific thing, right? And a discomfort in your body-mind. Okay? That could be an emotional thing that's coming up, or it could be a physical thing. Doesn't really matter. Okay? Mm-hmm. So let's start. And we start by just becoming centered. Take a breath. Sit comfortably. And bring your attention to the here and now. And what's really helpful is just to breathe. Breathe in and out. Become present with yourself. And then bring your attention to whatever it is that is in discomfort or in stress. Like I said, it could be an emotion that's displaying itself, or it could be a physical issue. And just go directly there. Where is the center of that sensation? Identify the location of it in your body. And be precise about that location. Where exactly is that sensation occurring? How big is this area? Maybe there's an image that comes up, like a knot or a wound or a ball or something of that nature. You can use that. So identify exactly where that discomfort is manifesting. And then bring your attention into it. Open up to that discomfort, this part of you that needs help, and pay attention to it. So you know how to focus your mind. Now your mind may not want to focus on it at first because you've trained it not to for so many years. You've trained it to escape from it and to push it away, to do war with that sensation. But when we realize that war is hopeless, that we can only lose, we're ready to do something else. So now do the opposite and bring your attention into that part of you that needs help. Deeply. Deeply feel it. Become aware of every aspect of it. Now you may notice that your mind is unwilling to focus on it, that it becomes jittery and it tries to escape. So here's a trick. You can imagine that your breath, your normal breath that you breathe, is moving in and out of through that area of the sensation. So you're breathing into the belly or into the throat or into wherever in your body that sensation is. Breathe through that part of your body and feel the breath moving in and out through that area. And in this way you can get your mind centered there. And if the mind goes away from it again into another excursion into something else, just gently but firmly bring it back to focus on that area of discomfort and go deeper and deeper into it. Then notice what's happening. There's a number of different things that can happen. One is you may get some additional insights about what's going on here in your body. Another thing is that it may just dissolve, the discomfort may just dissipate. Or it could dissipate in one location and then you feel it in another location. It may move from place to place in your body. If that's the case, just follow it. Follow the wisdom of the body. It will guide you in its own healing. Or the sensation could just be really stable. It just stays there. Then go into it deeper and deeper and deeper. And remember, you're not trying to get rid of it. You're trying to infuse it with consciousness, with awareness. So now for a moment, just hold that sensation of the stressful area. Leave it right where it is. And then bring your attention to the heart center, the innermost part of the chest, interior to any tension or stress that may be in the chest. That place of the soul. And mentally connect that place with that area of the tension. And you may even be able to feel that essence in the heart. And then mentally imagine that the essence of the heart is flowing into the area of the distress, the disturbance. And you don't have to try really hard, just kind of relax into that. Just when you pick up a little girl, this comes very natural. You're there with your heart, you're present. The heart is alive. So in the same way, let your heart come alive to yourself. Let it pour its rich essence into that place of distress. And you can go deeper and deeper with that. Realizing that at this moment, you are both the giver of love in the heart and the receiver of love in that place of you that is in pain, in stress. And when you are both the giver and the receiver of love, it makes loving completely safe. So relax into the richness of this internal healing. The richness of this amazing gift that you are to yourself. Apply this ultimate medicine of loving kindness in the place in you where it is most needed. And then make a resolve to repeat this inner healing again and again whenever there's some discomfort that arises. Very good. So, we did that here once. We did it right now with you live here on the camera, or those people who are watching us, you just did it, watching it here. First of all, I'd like to point you to my website at skillsforawakening.com. If you go to Open Attention, you can find a series of 4 short videos. It's a total of maybe 35 minutes where you can listen to another explanation and guidance into this way of healing your life. That's free at the website. And please understand that this was just a little nibble, a little bite. And there's a great richness of that here when you repeat it, when you begin to work with this healing potential. This morning, I do a lot of this in the morning before I have to get up, because I love this moment in the bed when I'm still and my mind is not active and I can just focus on what's going on in my body. And I had a memory, a body memory of some old way of releasing. It's very strange. It was a memory of the few times in my life when I really cried very deeply because some terrible thing was up or being resolved or something, and the release of that crying. And I realized, isn't that interesting? That I detected an attachment to that kind of crying. So if I'm attached to that, what will happen? Well, I'll draw a situation, I'll recreate a situation where I have to cry in this much pain. Well, I don't want that. So I just saw that, I shed light into that old mechanism in me, that old pain body mechanism, that it was unconsciously looking for that kind of emotional anguish so it could experience that sense of release. Well, then later at breakfast, I realized what it was. I realized that what I'm really looking for is the release of gratitude. I mean, I realized that because I have a profound gratitude to my teachers and to life itself, which has led me from profound suffering into a really amazing life. So when I realized that, tears of gratitude came to my eyes, and I realized that can take the place of that old release through anguish that I've known, So we're unconsciously attached to uncomfortable emotions in some way or another, because we identify with them, or we in some way are attached to the feeling of it, you see, because we all have to have a sense of aliveness that comes to us because we're feeling. And if we can't get that through positive feelings, we'll create the bad ones, because we have to feel in order to be alive. Anyway, those are some other stories, but through open attention, going deeper and deeper, training yourself to really become your own healer in this wonderful way that's possible now, and deepening your access to the heart center, and systematically freeing yourself from this crazy pain body compulsion of creating pain in your life. You can get better at this every time you practice it. So anyway, that's the invitation.
Thank you, Ram Giri. That was really, again, another wonderful session and time with you. I know that you do this too for people that have heart problems, don't you? You have a whole program for that.
People with all kinds of issues, whether they're heart problems or cancer or any other illness. So I work a lot with the mind-body interactions with that. Or, a lot of people who just are sick and tired of suffering and aren't necessarily physically ill at all. We put out a course called becomingwhole.com. That's where you can find it. And in that course is the 3 skills that I'm talking about specifically for people with illnesses. It's a very intensive 6-week course because I figured if somebody's come down with cancer or some kind of illness, they want some intense to work with, So there's every day, there's audio sessions and meditations and practice, heart sourcing every day and so on. So in that course, that's specifically focused on working with illnesses and specifically cancer, etc. However, what I noticed that about half the people who are getting it don't have any illness. They have the illness of just being sick and tired of their suffering, because you don't have to have an illness to become inspired to free yourself of suffering. As a matter of fact, I would recommend you don't wait until you get inspired.
Let's do prevention.
Yes, exactly. Right. So that's becomingwhole.com, and I invite you to take a look at that.
I'll add the link to the description of the video too. Becoming Whole.
Becomingwhole.com. And it's also this intensive 6-week course. A lot of people have stretched it out and are using it for 12 weeks or longer because the material is very rich. It can take you very deep into your healing in this quite sophisticated way.
Well, I'm so moved and touched by you're so at service to people. You're so devoted to, to just this, and it's wonderful.
See, I got the secret, and the secret is very simple. When I'm able to give something to somebody, or something of value to somebody else, then I am enriched by that giving. And I want to get very, very, very rich that way.
That's beautiful.
And you and everyone who's taken from me some of this knowledge, some of this skill, is helping me to become rich in that way. So thank you for that.
Beautiful. Well, have a beautiful day. Yeah, have a beautiful day in Florida.
Thank you. It's not warm here, so you keep warm up there in Chicago.
Yes, it's sunny, but a little bit on the colder side, but still lovely.
Well, enjoy the sun.
Thank you.